What's going on, everyone? It's Greg back with some more Watcher of Realms, and I spent plenty of time trying to get through Void Rift hard and finally made it. So this is going to be my phase 1 video. There'll be a video on phase 2 and one on phase 3, and then at the end of phase 3 I will be showing like the rewards and stuff like that. Now, I shifted my head up a little bit, made it a little bit smaller because I want to make sure you guys can see what ults I'm triggering as we go through this. And some pieces of it I will probably get quiet, and what I'll do is speed those ones up a little bit because as I went and edited these down to the actual battles, still like 25 minutes a pop, 20 minutes a pop. So anyway, I'm gonna try to bring it down a little bit more. Phase 1 definitely seemed to be the hardest to me. I don't know how you guys feel, but man, that was Aracha was nuts on the boss stage there, and even getting through each of the other stages was actually fairly tough too. Calypso especially, Silas came through for me there, and you'll see that in here. Let's just go ahead and get straight into it with our first battle, and this is the one where we're gonna have to deal with the falling rocks from Aracha. And came in with the usual 2 defenders. Now, hey, I had to retry this quite a few times, so my positioning is decided upon after doing probably at least 3 to 4 runs on each of these minimum. So we go ahead. I like my tanks up here at the front. Now this is gonna focus the rocks onto those 2. Put my vortex at the back to get those heals going. I tell you what, man, I was missing out on Vortex very early game, and it was, man, I realized how not gimped or anything, but man, it definitely wasn't helping me. So I'm gonna put Comet down here. I'm using him to DPS the top. Then we use Vierna to DPS the bottom. You see the little exploding things? You really gotta watch out for them. Make sure you can survive them and heal through them. They will do a lot of damage, and the issue I had with putting my tanks further back was they would explode and then kill my DPS depending on where I had them. So this seemed to be the optimal setup because of the way they come in and then come in toward the tank that way, and so it stops them and explodes them further away from the middle platform. And for this one, I did pull out my Dolores. I don't think it's necessary here. It's just I just was like, okay, I'm gonna use Comet and Vierna as my main DPS. So let me pull in Dolores just to buff them up a little bit. At the bottom there, you can see I kind of let the bugs explode, utilize Baron's immunity, and then Oleg at the top. Man, he's just a crazy tank. I think we have more exploding things coming at the bottom than the top, though. So you see, I actually was working on those big boys for a while. They are very, very tanky. Bjorn can, do her little one-shot thing once they get down to 35%. And then Comet, once he gets into his ult, can do some crazy, crazy damage. So as long as I don't really let more than, 2 of them stick on there, I'm basically okay. So we got to like increase the mobs here. But again, AoE mage, I mean, he's gonna help take care of that. So we're on the last 2 now. You see Aracha has already left, and Comet is just gonna go ahead and finish these off. And there we go. First stage down. Now we move on to the next one, which again is still Aracha doing her little rock thing. But we have this set up. Most of these stages are basically the same from, I think they're all the same from Void Rift normal. I think that the bosses changed, but I think they changed all of them if I'm not mistaken. So like the final boss of phase 3 was different than what I was used to, but I think it changes for all of them. Not quite sure what the rotation is there. So now we are pulling out Madan. Now you will see me use Madan quite a bit here because Aracha starts doing the little poison thing, and Madan can cleanse that, and I'll talk about that more when we get to her boss fight. So the way I set this up here is my 2 tanks at that outer edge. There's not too many ways to avoid the rocks. I mean, you could I know on normal I put them on the very tips out there. where like the tanks are, but the one in front of them, and I put the tanks further back. They gave me 2 platforms that wouldn't get hit by rocks. But here you can see she did poison us. I'm going to use Madan to go ahead and cleanse that, so I don't even have to worry about it. So Olek is doing some tanking up there. I'm using again Comet and Vierna, my primary DPS. I do have Ionid in this time, but you can see I haven't even deployed them. I'm kind of just doing it like this right now. I will put them out eventually. I don't know why I waited. But really, it's really just the tanking and the healing on this one, and having enough DPS to go ahead and work them down. They come slow enough that it's not too big of a deal. But in this scenario, man, it was easier to keep all the heals focused in there. So that's why I kept everyone on the middle platform. Use Madan, cleanse that. Or did she cleanse it that time? I can't tell. You can see her using my Elowen's little healer tree thing help heal through some of those rocks, because they do hurt, especially on Comet and Vierna. Here I go ahead and throw the Iona out. I don't know why I hesitated so much there. So we got 10 more mobs. It's gonna be pretty similar. All right, we got our poison again, and we clean it with Madan again. Pretty quick and easy. Vierna making light work of those mobs. Same with Comet, he's gonna burn them down pretty quick. Got the rocks coming down, and again, see now the rocks are focused at the top. Oh, I just went ahead and triggered Elowen's heal instead. And we're finally gonna wrap this up. Took a while to DPS that last one. You could probably start despawning some at that point since nothing's coming to top lane, but it's not that big of a deal. Alright, moving on. This is simple gold stage. I do my typical 3 in a line. Actually, you'll see in my the phase 3 video. I'd actually watched Dan's to just pull some tips. Hopefully, I was basically just trying to make my stuff shorter. Like I was getting tired of doing Void Rift for the week. So his videos actually helped me out quite a bit. So I didn't have to think about positioning and stuff. But he showed a little different layout on here. So you'll see that in the phase 3 video. So we're just gonna DPS this. I'm gonna fast forward. Man, that actually took a decent chunk of time. So we are moving on. This is the Calypso stage. I clipped a little piece in there so y'all can see which one I was standing at, but it's moving kind of quick, so I'm sorry. But this one, man, I had to play around with positioning a lot. Pulling in Lunaria helped get the extra distance. I used Dolores on this one. I didn't think I used Dolores as much in this phase, but I guess I did use her a lot. So the whole idea here is you got to get everything placed out and get a tank down last for Calypso to hit. So I get out my marksman first, and they're doing the bulk of they're gonna do the bulk of the damage. Vierna's there for cleanup, and then Lunaria, I did go ahead and upgrade her because she's using a spot. You can only bring 8 people in Void Rift Hard. If you're bringing in a Lord, you pretty much need to make sure they're usable. Otherwise, you're kind of hurting yourself a little bit. Toriel, man, absolute beast. Silas is an absolute beast. They're my single target damage dealers. Toriel, with being able to shoot anywhere on the map, is just freaking amazing. Helps in so many places. I use her so much in Void Rift, and I use her, of course, in Gear Raid 3. So this is my setup right here, right? We got Olek on the right, Baron on the left. We got Elowen with the heals. Who did I not have on the heals? We'll have to see. I forget who I wasn't healing. I think it was Baron. Unless it was Olek. Can't remember. So you see here, I just really time the ultimates with when these big waves come in, trying to make sure nothing can get by my tank. Vierna, again, my last kind of wave of defense. I try to make sure there's some DPS enemies in there before really firing it off. And then Dolores, I'm tending to try to save a little bit until she can buff everybody and everyone has their ults ready. Now, the one thing about Elowen's ultimate, when she does ult, it does spread out, so she does extend those heals out. And Baron and Oleg are just great tanks, man. Regulus would be a good one as well. Alright, so I'm probably going to speed up through this one a little bit. This is pretty much the pattern. She goes back and forth, and then we just have to DPS all these mobs. So you can see there, if you don't know if you caught it, but there, I think Baron was the one that wasn't getting the. No, he's getting healed by Elowen. I guess it was Oleg, but Oleg, the enemies on the right side don't tend to be as bad, and I got Silas over there to help DPS them. So I did spread the heals onto Baron. It looks like. All right, so now we're moving into the next Calypso. Now this one, oof, this one I had to come up with a strat. And what I decided to do was DPS Calypso as fast as possible. So I used a combination of Silas, Dolores, and Theowen to get her down as fast as possible, keep her within Silas's range. That was the point of Theowen. So Theowen would slow her, and that would just allow her to be up here a lot, and me to try to DPS her with Silas. Now you can see I was originally using Vierna for that spot where I put Lunaria, but because of the bonus, I wanted the bonus from Lunaria, and she was just the easiest one to switch out. You got to make sure you get your tank down last, because Calypso is going to focus the last unit. So you can see I got my Oleg out there last. It was very close, so I'm pretty much right at the cusp of the points you can use in here. Alright, so I'm waiting for Calypso's shield to go down. And once I get toward the end there, I'm going to go ahead and burst Dolores and Silas. I have Theowen's ult going to slow her down. You see slowing her down. I got her down to 50%. And she's going to go ahead and stop again while she is still in range of Silas. Although she's getting to be to that point where she's not. And that's where a lot of my restarts on this came from. It's just getting that timing down to get her down as low as possible. You gotta make sure you focus on whoever you have down there at the bottom. Make sure they're killing their enemies. Zilla 2, I did have to make sure her ult was going. A couple times I forgot about it, and yeah, didn't turn out too good. So here I had to be careful, like, so the shield's going down, but I need Theowen to throw his thing at Calypso, so I gotta wait till that enemy down there moves across. So he moved across. I'm waiting for the timing. I'm looking, watching that shield go down. I'm really just thinking about everything right here. I'm like, okay, so now we're gonna hit Dolores, hit Theowen, because Theowen's gonna finish breaking the shield and slow her down, and then boom, Silas, crank him up. And I think because of Silas's animation, it might have been better to trigger him first. But as you can see here, he will point to his back a little bit. And I just, on this run, was able to get her all the way down. There is still an opportunity. If you can't get her down there, if your team is good enough, she can go travel to the top and start going over. And then you can have whatever you have up there in the top right, which I have Toriel. And one time I had Lunaria. And if the boss is low enough, then they can take care of her when she moves in there. But it gets real finicky. It's easier to burst her down there at the beginning. And I know that's difficult for a lot of people. But yeah. And then I went ahead and did some despawning, not for any particular reason, because it's not like, I think I did end up putting Silas down again, because Silas was going to help me on DPS. Come on, did I put Silas down? Yeah. So I put Silas down to help me DPS these last ones, and then we'll wrap it up. And there you have it. We finished the rest of those mobs. Now, oof, this was the worst one for me. Man, Aracha. Yeah, this stage, man, I retried this so many times, had to get my positioning right. So as you can see here, I do come in with the Eloin and Madan for my healers. The reason why I have Madan is for the poisons. She helps cleanse the poisons. My tanks I had to mess around with. I had to buff up Regulus a little bit. And I think I might even have to tweak Baron a little bit. So I used Baron and Regulus. The reason why I did that is Regulus so he can shield to help protect everyone else. Or well, at least everyone around him. And keep basically Comet alive. So you can see I use Comet and Vierna. Those are my primary DPS, and then I had Zillitu and Valkyra. I tried some other DPS. I tried to put some DPS on the edges. I just couldn't keep everyone alive. This seemed to be my optimal way to keep everybody alive, keep 2 healers on everyone, and it's really just a battle of trying to keep everyone alive and making sure I DPS, hit those Vierna ults at the right time, and even the Comet ults at the right time. I also try not to put Zillitu and Valkyrie out till basically here, where these bigger bosses come in, because there's still a risk from the rocks. Alright, so now the next boss is prepping to walk down. So I'm just trying to like, okay, let me clean up as much as possible. The left side is kind of okay. The poison comes in, I cleanse it with Madan. So this time, oh, another thing happens, the rocks will change positions, and so that can mess up your runs too. The rocks don't always fall on the same spots at the same times. They are more randomized. So I think in these particular runs it was easier for me if the rocks fell on the right side, but it does give you the opportunity to trigger ults on both sides because of the timings. So I can still go ahead and shield Regulus even though the rocks weren't dropping on that side. Then you can see I will use Eloin's little extra pet thing to go in there and get some extra heals where I see it needed. And I saw Vierna was dropping. I'm like, okay, let's keep her alive. And this was just a run where everything just kind of worked out. I was able to keep everyone up. Now that boss on the right side, now that little mini boss man, he messed me up on so many runs. And so it's just a matter of making sure I keep Baron alive. And that was the key. He died a lot. And I even tried Regulus on that side. Man, that was probably like the point at which I was like couldn't get over that threshold. You can see there Baron dropping. And I'm debating on using my heals. I'm like timing, I'm looking. So like I gotta keep Baron alive. And I think I held off on elements because Baron healed back up. And I'm just trying to DPS as much as possible. And Vierna is not the best on bosses or those mini bosses either. Got Eloin's little extra thing up, so I'm like, okay, let me go ahead and use that. Trying to save her ult for anything else that pops up, like the rocks. Keep popping emotes. Now I'm starting to feel pretty good. I'm like, this is probably my best run so far. So I got a little bit of time. Let me go ahead and just work this guy down. Don't need to pop Eloin, or do I? Oh, I pop Eloin because the rocks are coming down. And you can see there, man, I be clicking on stuff because I'm like, oh man, let me see what's about to happen with these rocks, like I'm about to change anything, but I like to slow it down as much as possible. Alright, so now we're gonna have fallen stones all across, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I finally got this far. Why is she doing this to me? So I popped those heals, and now I'm like, okay, I gotta see where I'm gonna have to put this down. Who's gonna struggle? But the key thing to keep in mind here, you really want to keep the left side alive because Aracha is coming on the left side. I don't even know if I thought about that at the time. Let's see where I end up putting this down. Yeah, I think I finally realized that, and I'm like, oh, well, obviously I gotta keep it over here. Or did I not? Come on now. Greg, what are you doing? And that lost comment anyway. So at this point, I'm like, man, losing folks. All right, I have to keep the boss here. Luckily, I still have Madan out, so Madan can cleanse that. But I was panicking, so I used up those heals. Now Madan doesn't have to heal too many units right now, so her heals are pretty much gonna work out. But at this point, I'm just keeping everyone alive until my timers run out, so I can pull people back in. But I'm getting real scared. Regulars getting low there. I don't even know why I kept Baron up at this point. I guess she's kind of targeting him, so maybe that was good. Oh, okay, I finally pulled him out. So now it's all about Regulus and Madan. Can they keep each other alive? So I did some contemplating right there. I was like, okay, one thing I thought about was, well, if the other tank was down, would have been nice to have some randomness to the rocks. But two, I'm like, okay, what can I do here? I need to get Eloin to heal Regulus. So that's what I did. I pulled Eloin, heal Regulus. I'm like, okay, I can get a DPS in that's outside the rock range. So I pulled in Comet. Why do I like Comet? Because it's a boss. I mean, Vienna's not gonna be able to use her special on him. Like it's take her too long DPS. So finally, I'm thinking through this. Like, okay, I know where the rocks are coming down, right? But now, what can I do different? Oh, I could put Valkyrie over here and hit from across the way, and she's not gonna get hit by any rocks. And I put Zilla 2 down. I probably could have kept Zilla 2 on the right side too, and just her ults should hit. I think there, and Aracha might be in range. But anyway, I went ahead and put Zilla 2 over there. So at this point, I got everyone back out, and it's pretty much good to go. I'll fast forward this, and we can move on. There we go. Phase 1 complete. That's it. I'm going to go ahead and pause it there because I don't really do anything else. That's it. Phase 1, and that ended up being like the hardest phase, the time I spent the most. And I think it really helped. I don't know if it's necessarily easier. I think it is a little bit easier on the other two phases, but I think what makes it easier is getting that experience in phase 1 of your timings and placements and things like that. It just gives you more to think about as you move into the next phases. So stay tuned for phase 2 and phase 3. They'll all be out back to back, so you can go watch the other ones, whatever you need. And I'll catch you in the next video.